The first time I saw the old house on Belmont Street, something about it felt off. Not overtly menacing, just off. The kind of feeling you get when you walk into a room and forget why you're there, only to find a strange chill in the air. It was late autumn in Portland, Oregon. The skies were the color of wet ash, and the rain hadn't let up in what felt like weeks. Trees stood bare along the sidewalks, their twisted limbs clawing at the thick, sodden air. I was broke, tired, and desperate. The fallout with my roommate had been abrupt and ugly, and I needed a place to stay fast. I found the boarding house listing on a faded flyer posted in a coffee shop downtown. The rent was astonishingly cheap, and something about the hand-drawn map felt quaint, like it belonged to another time. The house itself was an old Victorian, tucked away behind tangled hedges and a rusted gate that screamed in protest when pushed open. Peeling paint curled away from wooden siding, and the upper windows stared down like blind eyes. Still, there was something cozy about it. Mrs. Lovett, the landlady, was the first real warmth I encountered. She answered the door in a thick cardigan and wool skirt, her silver hair braided and tucked neatly over one shoulder. Her smile was soft and practiced, as though she'd welcomed hundreds before me. As she led me through the narrow halls and up the creaky staircase, she spoke fondly of the house and its tenants. "You're in 3B, she said, turning the brass knob with a flourish. "Lovely little room, good light in the mornings. You've got Alex in 3A, quiet boy, keeps odd hours. Miriam in 3D, artistic soul. Darren had 3C, but he left a while ago." She spoke of them like children she had raised. Her tone was affectionate, each name carrying weight like an old photograph. "They've been here a long time. Most don't have anywhere else to go, but they're good folks. They mind their business. You will too, I think." There was something final in her words, like a gentle closing of a door. I nodded without thinking. My room was small but clean. Hardwood floors, an iron bed frame, a dresser with a speckled mirror. The wallpaper was peeling in one corner, but the window looked out onto the quiet street below. It felt suspended in time, removed from the world I'd come from. The first week was uneventful. I started my new job at a dusty bookstore on Hawthorne. The routine was comforting. I'd return home each night soaked from the rain, dry off, read a little, and go to sleep. But it didn't take long for the unease to creep in. Every night, sometime between 1 and 3 in the morning, I began to hear it. Soft at first, barely there, a faint sobbing. I assumed it came from outside, maybe someone arguing on the street or a neighbor 2 houses down. But then I realized it was coming from next door, from 3C. It was a low, pitiful sound, wounded, grieving. The kind of crying that seemed bottomless, as though it came from beneath the floorboards. I pressed my ear to the wall. No words, no movement. The next morning over tea, I asked Mrs. Lovett about it. Her expression didn't change, but her hands paused mid-stir. "That room's been empty since June," she said. "Darren, the last tenant, just stopped coming back. You know how people are." I nodded, but the explanation didn't sit right. The crying continued every night at the same time, as though on schedule. It wasn't just the crying. Slowly, other things began to unravel. The hallway lights flickered even when there was no storm. The air always felt cold, no matter how high I turned the radiator. I stopped hearing noise from the other rooms. No footsteps, no music, no doors creaking. Only the crying and the silence. Occasionally, I'd see other tenants in the halls. A pale young man in a denim jacket, a girl with long dark hair carrying grocery bags, but they never spoke. They barely made eye contact. Their presence felt performative, like they were there only for my benefit. Once I returned home and found my door wide open. Nothing was stolen, but the bedsheets were mussed, and my notebooks had been rearranged on the desk. The mirror above the dresser was fogged over, as though someone had leaned close and breathed onto it. Another morning, I found a child's handprint on the inside of my window pane. I told myself I was overworked, that the cold and the silence were making me paranoid, but part of me had already started to fear the truth that was clawing its way into my mind. By the 4th week, I couldn't take it anymore. I stayed up one night, sitting in the hall outside 3C, listening. The sobbing came again, louder this time, heartbroken, desperate. I pressed my ear to the wood. It vibrated with the sound. And then I knocked. Just once, softly. The crying stopped. A moment passed. Then a whisper, just audible. "You hear me?" My blood turned to ice. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over myself, heart thundering in my ears. The next morning, I couldn't take the ambiguity anymore. I went back to Mrs. Lovett, shaking. She was in the parlor, dusting the already spotless mantel. She looked older somehow. Faded. I told her everything. The crying, the voices, the fog on my mirror. She sat down across from me, folded her hands, and sighed. "We've had this talk before," she said gently. "Every year, around this time. You never remember at first. You always come to me when you're close. It's always you, the last one to see it." I stared at her, confused. She continued, "You died, dear. All of us did. 30 years ago. Gas leak in the basement. Whole place went up in flames. No one made it out." My breath caught. I waited for her to laugh, to reveal the joke, but her eyes were grave, full of quiet sadness. "This house," she said, gesturing around her, "isn't what it seems. We're caught in something. A loop, a memory. I don't know why. Maybe unfinished business, maybe grief. But we relive it. Every year. And every year, you're the last to accept it." "No," I said, but the word had no strength. "You always resist," she said, nodding. "Even after the others have remembered. Even after the crying starts." I tried to speak, but memories surged. Smoke. Heat. Screams. The hallway lit in orange fury. Flames crawling across the walls. I remembered pounding on doors, calling for help. The choking sting of gas in my lungs. A window that wouldn't open. The searing pain. The blinding panic. Then black. I covered my face with my hands and sat in silence. The truth settled like dust. I was dead. We all were. The crying was mine. Echoes of those final moments ricocheting endlessly. I looked up at Mrs. Lovett. She offered no comfort, only a tired understanding. For the first time, I didn't flinch. I didn't run. I just accepted it. The house felt quieter after that. Not lighter, just quieter. The way a body stops shivering after giving in to the cold. I returned to my room. I lay down on the bed. The mattress didn't feel so hard anymore. The air didn't feel so cold.